Growing onions is a nice way to make an income, but farmers often get a low price when they harvest, because so many onions are sold then. To get a better price, farmers need to wait for the price to come up. This means you have to keep your onions from rotting while they are stored. We used to keep our onions on the ground in a closed room without much air, but in such a place, onions do not stay for long and they start rotting. In fact, onions can be stored for many months if they are of a good variety, fertilized properly, harvested, dried, and stored the right way. Let us first see what causes onions to rot in storage. Onions rot in storage because of germs that get into the onions. These germs may enter through wounds in the bulbs, but most germs come in through the open neck. If the neck of the bulb is thick, it is open. Germs can get inside, all the way to the middle of the onion. So if you cut off the leaves when they're still green and store the onions, the neck is one big open wound. Germs will enter and your onions will rot. The germs need warmth and moisture to grow. Germs can spread from rotten onions to healthy ones. If you want to store onions, choose the right variety. Varieties that take longer to mature store better. When new onion varieties appear in your area, grow small amounts of them to see which ones are the easiest to store. Even by observing onions in the field, you can get a good idea of how well a variety will store.
So zet po kamya ka zedla kwendik ka fu noko foninda gos ka bazuyin.
If you see an onion field that has mature onions, but you see no standing leaves, you ask the farmer where he got this type of onion, because it's a good variety. But if there are still green standing leaves, and you cut the leaves, the neck will not close. It will create a hole down to the bottom, and the onion will spoil. Apart from the variety, the way you fertilize your soil also affects how the onions will store. Organic fertilizer like manure or compost will benefit your onions while growing and even in storage. What I have seen is that when we use fowl droppings to grow onions, the onions do not easily rot when stored. But when you use chemical fertilizer, the onions do not stay for long and start rotting. That's the difference. Inusa Awina has over 40 years of experience growing onions in northern Ghana. From 2 months before harvesting, Inusa does not use any fertilizer, but sprinkles ash to give the onions a strong skin, so they'll store better and not rot. The onions are fully ripe when 1/3 of the leaves have turned yellow and lay down on the ground. You can bend the other leaves over to stop the sap from flowing and to force them to dry. This will make the onion necks close and make it harder for the germs to enter. At this time, you should stop irrigating to allow the onions to start drying. Keep the onions in the ground for 2 more weeks so that the bulbs become stronger and drier. In the dry season, Anusa came up with another clever technique to improve the storage of his onions. When the onions mature, I put dried leaves on the plant bed and sprinkle water on it once a week. It makes the place cool. You'll see that the ground will be moist, but the onion leaves on the top dry up. The sun will not scorch the bulbs because they're covered. You can keep the onions in the field till the bulbs harden as much as you like, and they will absorb all the water from the leaves, so the bulbs become bigger and will store very well. Harvest carefully to avoid wounding the onions. Bring the harvested onions to a shady place to cut off the leaves. Do not wash the onions or remove their peels if you want to store them. Remove any rotten onions. If you mix the rotten ones with the good ones, it is not good. If the liquid of the rotten ones touches the good ones, they will also start to rot. Sort out any bruised onions and those that have a thick neck. Those onions cannot be stored. You better eat them or sell them quickly. Dry the onions for at least a few more days in the shade before putting them in storage. The cut neck will dry. The bulbs will have less water, be more pungent, and can be stored for a long time. Isa Bukhari dries his onions outdoors in the shade for up to 4 weeks before storing them. When the onion neck starts to break, then we know that the onion is matured and ready for harvest. Cut the dried neck and spread the onions in a cool place for air to blow over them. When all the roots have dried, you clean them neatly before placing them in the storehouse. You'll see that the onions will not spoil. Farmers in Kenya spread their onions out in a warm, airy place and cover them with a light cotton sheet. This keeps the sun from burning the onion bulbs, while at the same time ensuring there's free circulation of air. Turn the bulbs once a day to promote even drying. Store the dried onions in a cool, dry place that is open to the air. Never keep the onions in closed bags that keep in the moisture, and don't place the onions directly on the floor, as they will spoil. Air has to pass under the onions, so use whatever you have, such as bricks and wood, to make a platform. On top of it, put a wicker mat or a layer of millet stalks, where you will store the onions. Make sure that the onions do not touch the walls and get moist. If you pile the onions too deep, they may get wet and spoil. Isa and his friends make a traditional storehouse that looks like a large basket kept in a wooden frame. It can store a few thousand kilograms of onions. They build it in the shade of trees, as onions are best stored in a cool place. To ensure good air circulation, raise the storehouse about 1/2 meter above the ground. Tie the poles with iron wire so they will not open under the pressure of the onions. To ensure that rain cannot make his onions wet, Isa uses 2 layers of woven mats for the walls. The well-dried onions are now gently put inside the large raised basket. A thatched roof extends to nearly a metre over the walls to protect them from rain.
Ama fayati ka wani sigbol yo ko fana ka zila wosa yintan anya.
When the weather gets too hot for you to sleep inside, I use a stick to open the roof of the storehouse, so cool air can come in at night and the onions won't rot. Some farmers have also made specialized storehouses from mud. All 4 walls have round openings every half a metre, so that air can easily move through the house. Farmers place a layer of onions on each wooden slatted shelf. Inspect the onions from time to time in the store. Discard any rotting or sprouting onions. Now let's review what we've learned. Identify the variety of onions in your area that store the best. Two months before harvest, apply wood ash so the onions can be stored longer. When 1/3 of the leaves lay on the ground, bend the other ones over and stop watering. Keep the onions in the ground for 2 weeks more. Be careful not to bruise the onions at harvest. Sort out any damaged and rotten onions. Dry the good onions under shade for a few more days. Store the onions in a cool, dry place that is airy. Never store the onions right on the floor. Inspect the store often and remove any rotting onions. By following all these steps, you can store your onions for months and sell them at a time when the price is high.